this is no surprise. If you're a big multinational and the dollar costs more, it's going to hurt your results. Take us through what you're seeing.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a strengthening dollar that's one of the biggest headwinds affecting all the mega cap names that are reporting next week. Like you said, Dom, these are huge multinationals that generate most of their sales outside the U.S. And we got a cascade of warnings from each company on how foreign exchange will put a wet blanket on growth, leading to modest outlooks from the quarter from names like Apple, Microsoft, and Meta. All of these are expected to feel pain in different ways, though. For Apple, for example, CFO Luca Maestri warning last earnings, FX will put a damper on the company's best-in-class margins. As for Meta, they were warning about a 6% drag on sales in their metaverse division called Reality Labs. That already loses several $billion a quarter anyway. Over on Microsoft, they were sounding the most exposed to FX, with CFO Amy Hood saying last earnings to expect a 5% hit to overall revenue growth. So now the question is, what do they do about these foreign exchange headwinds? As for Apple, they're raising prices on the iPhone 14 and in the App Store across the EU and South American and Asian countries where the dollar is the strongest. Meta also raising prices on its older metaverse headset by $100, and that new Meta Quest Pro headset they announced last week, well, that costs an eye-popping $1,500, Dom. And companies without pricing power are cutting costs wherever they can. We've seen recent layoffs at Microsoft and project cuts across Google, for example. Now, the good news for all these companies, FX is predicted to be more favorable after we get through the end of the year, with Microsoft's Hood telling investors last quarter FX should ease up in the spring and summer of 2023, Dom.
So I guess it begs the question, Steve. Anybody, CFO, treasurer, or otherwise, has seen the chart, has watched it continuously grind higher at an upward angle. How much do you think, then, is already expected from these FX headwinds in these quarterly reports coming up in the next 1 to 2 quarters? I mean, you mentioned Microsoft's already expecting things to ease. I wonder if investors are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and it's different by name, too. So the two companies I didn't really mention there were Google and Amazon, and they actually kind of indicated we're less exposed to these foreign exchange headwinds, in part because they do a lot of spending here in the U.S. And Amazon, for instance, said, look, our operating income, we're not going to see any significant headwinds there. But where it does hurt companies like Amazon, their cloud business, which is, a big multinational business for them, and it's very susceptible to these headwinds on foreign exchange. So same thing with Microsoft and cloud and Google's cloud. So even if their core businesses are okay, there are segments, important segments within those companies that are very vulnerable.
All right. Steve Kovacs, CNBC Tech correspondent, thank you very much.